Welcome everyone to the online event, highlighting two important training initiatives supported by the Kreativna Europa MEDIA and dealing with important horizontal priorities such as greening, but as well as diversity and inclusion under the umbrella of sustainability. Just to recap quickly, a total of 57 training initiatives were supported last year, and they were all kind of spread well in terms of the high and low production capacity countries. So we kind of have a balanced presentation of training initiatives in 20 media countries, and with a total support of 9.3 million euros. Going in the line with the introduction of the Green Deal at the European level, but also introducing the horizontal priorities that are kind of implemented into every single call of the Kreativna Europa MEDIA. No matter if you are developing your project or running a production company or organization, it turns out to be quite important because it gives you some extra points, but it also somehow helps you in how to prepare your project from the beginning till the very end. It's definitely a huge challenge because there are different strategies at the European level, but also at the national level and at the professional level. And for this reason, we decided to introduce two training initiatives so that you get familiar with what is out there. The first one, and it's my pleasure and honor, is going to be Mercedes Fernandez, director of the Torino Film Lab, but focusing this time on the Green Film Lab. Ladies, yes. Hello.
Can you hear me well? Yes.
Yes. Welcome.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you, Martina. It's really a pleasure to be here with all of you to present the last initiative of Torino Film Lab. I don't know if you are familiar with Torino Film Lab. We are an international laboratory that supports emerging filmmakers from all over the world. We support filmmakers during the development of their projects. So during the script development and during the project development. So we work both with the writer, director, and producer. So we started 15 years ago working on this area, but the greening of the industry was, especially in the last year, something that we were thinking about. We wanted in some way to take responsibility because we think this is an issue that affects all of us, and all of us need to have some action in the world that we work in. So we ask ourselves, what can we do as an international laboratory to support the greening of the industry? And we decided to launch Green Film Lab. The idea of Green Film Lab is training European producers in having more sustainable sets. So how we do it? It's a 3-day workshop that travels around Europe, because the idea also is in some way traveling less in general, especially by plane. So we decided that instead of organizing one workshop where all the professionals attend from different countries in Europe, a small team of Torino Film Lab of only 4 people would travel around Europe to make connection with the different regional national industries. So what happens during this workshop is that we work on concrete projects preparing the sustainability plan, meaning the actions that as a producer you can implement during your shooting. It is possible to apply with a project and then you work on the sustainability plan of your project, or you can apply also as a producer without a project, and in that case you will work on the sustainability plan of another project. So the idea is give the producers the possibility to gain these skills, and the training is also addressed to what we call sustainability managers, even if Martina is using sustainability as a larger concept, but in our case, so we could say green managers, people who work on greening, for example, with, I don't know, buildings, certification for buildings. So they come from another area. They don't come from cinema. They are engineers. They certificate for companies, and they bring their knowledge, which is more technical, and that you need in order to have a greener set. So basically, we put together the producers coming from the film industry together with the green managers coming from the sustainability. So as you can read here, you can apply both with fiction and documentary projects. And it needs to be at a pre-production stage. So you need to be quite close to the shooting, because in order to prepare a sustainability plan, you already need some information about the shooting. For example, where you will shoot, how many people there will be in the troupe. So the project should be quite close to the phase of the to the stage of the shooting. So this was the first year of Green Film Lab. I have to say it worked very well. We held 2 workshops in Spain, one in Barcelona, one in Palma de Mallorca, and 1 workshop in Italy, in Trento. Usually the number of participants that we have in every workshop is around 24, of which 80% are locals, meaning regional, national professionals, because this is our idea. Our idea is traveling to the different countries so we can reach a larger number of professionals. And there is another information which I think it's interesting, and it's the how many women and how many men we have participating in the workshops. I was checking the numbers yesterday, and in 3 workshops we had 51 women and 21 men. So it looks like the greening issue at the moment is more female, maybe. These are the figures that we have at the moment. And we have worked with a total of 18 projects, of which already 2 are shooting and certificating the shooting. There is another idea under there is another idea that we want to promote with Green Film Lab, which is the need of having shared good practices around Europe, because in this moment in Europe greening is an issue, but every nation is developing different protocols. So for a producer who co-produces, it's quite tricky, because if you are shooting in France, you have one protocol, then you go to Germany and you have a different protocol. So in a Green Film Lab, we work with a specific protocol, which is called Green Film, which is already used by the regional funds in Europe, by different regional funds in Europe, and it's public, so you don't have to pay it, because there are other protocols that you need to pay to use them. And that was very important for us. And also it's an entry level, meaning that it gives the basic knowledge. And then, of course, you as a producer can always do more. But the objective of this workshop is giving some common guidelines through Europe in order to facilitate the producer work. And here you can see the places where we have been until now, and next place where we will go is Iceland in December. In March next year, we will be in Ireland. So for Iceland, the call for applications is already closed. But if you are interested in applying for the Iceland workshop, the call will be open in November 28th. After Ireland, we will travel to Poland, but we are still defining the dates. It may be end of May. And these are the two films. Both are Italian, and we're participating in our first workshop, the one in Trento, and they are already applying a green protocol during the shooting. So why the benefits that you can have from these workshops are that you will get knowledge on how to produce in a greener way. And I think this is important for obvious reasons, because of the sustainability that we need to promote in our daily lives, but also because the fans are asking more and more a green certification that you will have to present in order to get the funding. So in the coming months and years, I think this issue will be more and more present in the policies of the funds. So let's say also from a more practical point of view, it is important to be ready.
Do you have, or can you provide us if they are taking part throughout all workshops, the experts, for example? And,
yes.
Are they mentors? And you said that you have sustainable managers. So
yes.
Just to share with us a couple of names. This is the question number one. And the two, since most the Central Eastern European part is, and you need to be aware that there is a grouping of non-European countries participating in the media, and also, of course, Central Eastern European countries participating in the European Union and in the media. I'm curious, how many applicants did you have from this particular region? Since we are really just starting to implement and working on our strategies, so just to have an overview of maybe participation from the Central Eastern Europe.
So regarding the experts, the head of studies is Giovanni Pompili. He's an Italian producer who has always been very committed to the greening of the industry. He has always co-produced. So we thought it was a very interesting profile that could put together the production aspects and the greening aspects. He works together with 2 tutors because during the workshop, all the projects and producers are divided in 2 big groups. And we have 2 tutors who are complementary profiles because one, Morgan Bodem, she comes from France. She started as a producer. She has worked in small productions, and then she was more and more committed to the greening, of the industry, and so she actually works as a green manager and also a trainer. On the other side, we have a complementary profile because it's another woman, Louise Smith. She is from UK and she comes from sustainability. She was working for corporates, and at a certain point, he decided to approach the film industry, and she started to work with, in her case, big productions. She works, for example, she worked in the last film of 007. She worked with the TV series The Crown. So it's very interesting because there you can see the differences about having green sets, because the big productions usually have a budget for it because in some way they are obliged to do it. But of course, it's different when you have a small production, and then maybe you don't have a budget to do that kind of work. So in Green Film Lab, we work on more on the small, medium budget productions, more than on the big ones. But it's very interesting to have these 2 profiles because they are really complementary. The other question that you had about the nationalities of participants. So as I said before, the majority of participants are locals because it's our intention that we are the ones who travel and connect with the different industries. So as I said, usually 80% are national professionals. And as for the other 20%, I have to say that I cannot tell you the exact number, but we have received quite a number from Central Eastern Europe. That was it was very interesting. I don't know if the reason, if maybe this is something that it's missing, but we notice a strong presence of Central Eastern Europe. That's definitely interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely missing in this part of the world. But if I understood well, basically traveling modules will then focus on tailor-made workshops.
On top of the work that we do with the groups, then we have plenary sessions that we open to all the national professionals. But yes, our idea is that one of, because it was a way for us to reach more people.
Yeah.
Because we are now, when we started Green Film Lab, it was because the regional funds in Europe were asking for that. They told us, listen, our funding for films will be, it has to be related also to the greening of the industry. So we will ask the producers to have greener sets, but we need them to be trained because they don't know to, I mean, it's new. So this was the beginning of Green Film Lab, not because we were approached by the funds saying we need this. So then we started, and the workshops that we have done until now are in partnership with the funds, because they want their professionals to be trained. So this is why this format. So we would be happy to come to Croatia. If you
Yeah, maybe to do something regionally, like to gather then participations from neighboring countries as well. I don't know how it is with the audience, but maybe I move to Julia now. But I mean, first maybe it was the best is to present what you offer and how it works, and then maybe we come back to the audience and questions from the audience, if it's okay with you. So thank you for this, but do not leave, please. Thank you. A sustainability management course gives an overview of sustainability in different aspects. So not only regarding the greening, but also working environment, personal growth. So something more broader and wider. So without further ado, I would like to then welcome Julia to dive with us into the course.
So my name is Julia Short, and I'm Head of Studies at the International Screen Institute. Our timing for setting up as an international training institute was priceless, because we set it up just as COVID was starting and the world closed down. So we applied to Creative Europe for funding for 3 courses. I used to be head of content for a training program called Inside Pictures, which was supported by Creative Europe, that I ran for 8 years. And I was keener to deliver a broader range of training activities. So we applied to Creative Europe and we got 3 training programs funded. So we got a very intensive legal and business affairs program funded. We got a audience design lab program funded, which we used a lot of Torino lab audience designers. And Torino, thank you very much for supporting us on that. And then the third thing that we delivered, and we've just finished, which Martina has just finished, was the sustainability management course. Now, we came up with the idea for this course in 2019 because the person, Beatrice Neumann, who sadly is no longer with the Institute because she's now training kids in the film industry, she and I came up with, we spend a lot of time thinking that there's a huge amount of responsibility and pressure brought to bear by producers in terms of greening and being ecological. And that to us didn't really make any sense, because actually there's the whole industry in it. It's not just production that needs to be sustainable, it's the business that needs to be sustainable. And that there's no point in asking, we felt that there was no point in asking producers to do all the heavy lifting and reduce their carbon footprint if exhibition and distribution and streaming was eating up all the carbon that was being saved by the producers at the beginning of the process. So we felt that there is really, really good green producer training. There's great green consulting training out there. So we wanted to put out an offering that was different and unique and allows us to work with all the other training providers to add a complementary training for sustainability. So as Martina has explained, this course is about running a sustainable business. And I think the challenge that we identified during running the program is everybody has a certain concept of what sustainability means and their interpretation of sustainability. And where ours is open to anybody that's interested in running a sustainable business. So we had, for example, as participants, we had a number of producers, so people that are running production companies who want to run their businesses, not just their productions, but their businesses sustainable. We had a number of film funds. We had industry bodies that want to make their sector more sustainable. We had 2 people from the art department who are interested in more a broader overview of sustainability. So our course covers topics like mental health and running, is how do you run a team that's under stress and under duress, data storage, workspace and office space, management systems to run is once you set your sustainability strategy in place, how do you then manage that process? We had another session on communication. So if you've set a sustainability strategy, how do you then communicate it and get buy-in from your team or your company? And we have another session on checking your suppliers. So if you hire in a lot of work, is how can you encourage your suppliers to have a sustainability policy and to have and encourage them to look at their sustainability practices. So ours is, I guess, kind of one level up from what Mercedes was talking about. It's kind of the step before, not before, but the step in the process that's before you then go into production and do the sustainable. You look at that side of it. So we delivered it online because we had our course was for 20 participants. We did have 20 2 days before the course. Unfortunately, we lost 2 people at the last minute, so we ended up with 18. But because that's involving 18 people traveling, is that we felt that it wasn't appropriate to deliver the course in person. So the course is delivered online. As part of the application process, we asked applicants to articulate a challenge, a business challenge or a personal challenge that they wanted to review and look at and really understand and improve on, that they could apply the learnings from the course. So most participants came, the industry sector people was slightly less project driven and more an industry challenge of how do we get people as companies in distribution, as an example, to buy into having a sustainable policy and strategy. And then what we have done is each participant has got a mentor, and they have two 90-minute mentoring sessions. And that mentoring session is really to focus on the challenge or the project that you've brought to the program. And then in December, we'll probably meet online, Martina, just to let you know. The last module is a 1-day session. And I think we'll keep that online to adhere to our sustainability policy. And we will ensure we've created, each participant had to give an overview of the key policies in their territory. So we're creating a hub of information for best practices from every single territory, so that within the group they're sharing best practices, advice. It was incredibly interesting talking to Benjamin, who was from Belgium, and saying there's 3 different areas of Belgium and they all have completely different sustainability policies. So it's really illustrative. And we're in a very privileged position in terms of the Screen Institute of understanding all the challenges that different countries are facing. So, for example, Belgium, which is a relatively small in terms of area and people, is that they don't even have one national policy. They have 3 different regional policies. So so part of the Screen Institute aim is to pull information together from the European territories and look at the challenges and whether we can campaign for which I'm sure we would all like, is a more general overview that there's a European policy across all territories, rather than if you're doing a co-production, is one country's sustainability policy and rules are this, and then in another territory it's that. And how do how do you get a consistency through all that?
That's why I was also intrigued to actually apply to this course, because producers, on one hand, producers need to explain the greening policies in terms of the production, but then what I experienced with media applications, they also have big challenges when it comes to how they run their businesses. And since Kreativna Europa MEDIA introduced this, starting with the last year, we were all kind of challenged how to actually implement all those priorities within the application, because there was no any training or whatsoever prior to the applications. And of course, everything is happening at the same time. So besides the Green Deal, but also different funds, Euromage at the Council of Europe, media at the European Commission level, but also there is such a variety and diversity of policies, and it's really welcoming that training like this will also offer a how do you call it, a hub, so that we see what is out there and how can we actually balance among each other and implement each other's policies. The training is quite intense, but in the end, what we really need is this bonding and to really communicate and exchange the know-how, and this is really a benefit. Do you have maybe an overview in terms of how many applications did you receive?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. We didn't have a huge amount more than the number of places that we had. I quickly looked up numbers when you were asking Mercedes the question. 25% of our participants were from your region. We've put a huge amount of effort into trying to reach out to what the EU calls low capacity countries. So for example, for our legal and business affairs course, 60% were from low capacity countries. I feel it's something that I've been very, very passionate about for a very long time since I ran Inside Pictures, is making sure that the awareness is there.
Yeah.
And the other thing to tell you all is obviously we have the financial support in terms of fees for the program, but because we are a sustainable organization in terms of the Screen Institute, we also have bursaries for people who might have childcare. So there's extra costs that are incurred if they need childcare. So we've got childcare support, we've got carer support, we've got support if you just write me a nice letter and just tell me I can't even afford 50%, or whatever percentage it is. So we do have quite a generous financial support pot, because our view is if somebody wants to do our training, we want to support them in any way we can to get them to do it. And as an example, on the course, the sustainability course that we've just run, one of the speakers wouldn't take a fee, and she wanted us to give free access to somebody on the program, so that somebody that we felt was deserving that could. So in fact, we split it between two people, because we felt there were two. Everybody's very deserving, but in this particular case, we felt there were two very deserving people. So if any of you are interested in our courses, please don't be, you might be put off by the fees, but please reach out to us, because we do have little pots of money that we can apply to your application.
That's really appreciating. Thank you. Well, good to know. Yeah. Because sometimes applicants from Croatia, because we were successful in the previous programming period, we are not allowed to ask for the bursaries or so on, in comparison to the other low visual capacities.
Yeah, we allow anybody to apply for bursaries, and it might be, it might be a question that you either pay your rent that month or you do the course. I'd rather you paid the rent and did your course and our course.
Good.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. And in December, the second module is finished, and then you are going to open the call for the next year as well.
We're waiting to hear from Creative Europe about our funding.
Oh, yes, the results. Yeah. We all need to. Yeah.
But we will run the sustainability course, whatever happens.
Okay.
It would just be nice to know that we've got some financial support. I'm sure Mercedes feels the same. It would be nice to have some level of. It allows us to keep the fees as low as. I mean, that's the key thing. Is courses cost quite a bit. I know it's hard to believe for some people. I know I can't believe when I do a budget and I think how much. But in order to make it affordable for everybody, we're all quite reliant on that Creative Europe funding.
So keep the fingers crossed.
So keep your fingers crossed. Yes.
Thank you
for
so
all of
much.
us. Yeah.
Thank you, so much,
For all of
Julia.
us. Yeah.
Let me see if we have questions from the audience. Maybe just to ask Mercedes, was there something that was quite surprising when you organized those workshops and that you learned along the way in comparison to the other training initiatives that are under the umbrella of Torino Film Lab?
Yeah, so there was something very surprising, and how many people, how many producers out there are concerned about this issue of greening the industry, and they were enthusiastic about the fact that they could network with other producers who thought in the same way. So when we did the workshops, we had this feeling of, you know, each of these persons maybe was concerned about the issue, but had a feeling of loneliness in this thought. And then they arrive to the workshop and they say, okay, I am not the only one, and there is this person and this person. So the networking value of these workshops is very high, because all these people, one of the films that is shooting now with the Green Film Protocol, basically it's one producer who attended the workshop, started a collaboration with a green manager who attended the workshop, both in Trento. So they met in the workshop, and after that, they worked together during the shooting. So the networking value, I think it's super important in creating an awareness about this issue. I would say that that is the most, and how enthusiastic are the people about having the opportunity after the workshop. They say, thank you, we learn a lot of things. So you can see that there is, let's say, a need in some way, that people are happy to having this kind of opportunity.
Yeah, and what I also learned at sustainability management course, that some countries, they already have the listing of the green managers. So I'm curious, during the Torino Film Lab, you gather green managers because it's a totally new occupation that at some point will need to be introduced on set. Do you also provide, like, your green managers are from all over Europe, or?
They are, but I have to also, the green managers is a big issue, but not only for us as Torino Film Lab, it's an issue of an European industry. Because at the moment, the green managers in cinema basically are producers who get some knowledge on green. So they did some training, but let's say a green manager should be someone with a technical knowledge. So should be someone who works on sustainability and approaches the film industry. So what we need at an European level at the moment is to try to train that kind of profile. But for us, it's been very difficult to reach those people because they don't know about the film industry, or maybe the film industry is not, there is not so much money as they can find in another kind of industries. I don't know the reasons, but I think that the challenge for the European industry now is to train this kind of professional, because we don't have them, basically. It doesn't exist. And I think it's really, I mean, there is a huge demand of this kind of professional profile, and it will grow very fast. So it's really, I think that's the challenge at the moment.
Yeah, we totally agree, Carmen, Una, and myself. And Carmen has a question for you,
I think,
if you can hear him.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is it a good idea for the future to think on a standard or ready-made protocols for the countries which are entering into this thematic, into this topic? Because as I always love to give this example, when you don't know the taste of a fruit, you don't have interest on it. So if you propose, have you ever think on this, to propose a ready-made standards or protocols or a way of working in this field in order to give an idea to the national authorities how to do their own structure of this standardization, let's say?
Yes. Well, this is the other challenge of the program, meaning that what we would like with this workshop is to promote shared guidelines through Europe. Entry level, so easy for the producers. So we want to be realistic. You cannot ask to a producer go from 0 to 10. So let's start asking 2, 3, and then we will arrive to 10. So this is the idea of green film. And with our aim is proposing this protocol as an European protocol, but this is a political question.
Yes.
So we are working also on that level, but of course it's not part of the program, it's part of our strategies as an organization. So we are also working on a policies level, but that's very complicated because let's say a political level, they cannot say, okay, they don't want to take a position on this thing.
Yes.
So they don't want to say, okay, let's use this protocol or this one. So that's another level of things where, you know, we don't have all that influence. But what we want to do is by practice, so let's start doing it.
Yeah.
From the low, no, from the low level, and then
Yeah.
So it's bringing it from the, you know, it's okay. Let's start doing it, and let's see. And then at a political level, this is in some way seen, no?
Not
Yeah, I think Torino, what Torino are doing and what we're doing are exactly the same. Is you have to start at grass level, and we can't get. It's difficult for us to influence politics, but if we get enough people involved in it and buying into it, there can become a movement. I was going to say, because I think, Martina, one of the things that we learnt but were frustrated by is we have to have patience, because these things take time, and it certainly takes politicians a long time, and we've got to get an army of people out there that want the same thing, that are campaigning. As you say, we've got to have an EU common directive that can't be, as Mercedes quite rightly said, is we can't get them from here to here. It's going to have to be a staged process that we learn and we communicate. And communication's really, really important. Yeah. Really important is communicating it to as wider group of people that we can.
Yeah, and that's why for today's session I'm especially happy because there are so many students participating. So it's really good and good for them to understand that they need to already now start thinking and being part, how to implement, how to rethink not only the projects but also in general how to be sustainable. Let me check if we have any more questions. I think we throw so much information to everybody. It's good that they know who you are and what you offer, and that you need to continue, especially being supported by Kreativna Europa MEDIA, because on one hand, if they want to have experienced professionals and especially the green managers, then they also need to support the trainings and even by Una has something. Sorry.
I have something to add. We have one green art incubator in Serbia. It's a workshop actually that started from theaters, but they organized one session with Italian colleagues, with Torino Film Lab, with Luca, sorry for reading the names, not to make a mistake, with Luca Ferrario, and we had Giovanni Pompili. And this was really nice to hear all things about greening and how they are managing on set to have these green things. So Media Desk Serbia started collaboration with this green art incubator, and next year we hope that because of our action plan we can do more, and the people can learn about greening, and then the next step is probably to make some rules through Film Center Serbia, and then after that on government level to put it up.
Clara, now it's time to show your face and say hello, because Clara is also part of the Austrian Film Institute, and they really have a department at the Film Institute responsible for the greening strategies, and you're quite advanced when it comes to implementing those policies. But maybe just to hear your voice and if you have any comment.
Yeah, I want to say thank you first, Martina, for doing this. I think this is great, especially I'm happy that so many students are here. I'm hoping, because they're Austrian students, I'm hoping that I can show them the recording. But yes, I also had a sneak peek in the IC session. We're very happy because it's the first media fund training in Austria, so that's very special. And I really was fascinated, and also our greening person in the Austrian Film Institute is taking part in the program of IC, and I think they're really, I mean, we do have a department for this, but there are so many things and people are still not working together. So I really like this approach that, like, the biggest aim is that we do this together and we build regulations that is not just for one country. So yes, I'm very grateful that this event is happening and looking forward to many more programs like this.
Thank you, Clara. Yeah.
Thank you.
And just a quick closing, since we came to the end and the time is time, right? It's important that we are aware that we need to definitely at the same time educate and communicate at different levels, and finally that we commit to really implement the greening and sustainability strategies. Just in the quick round for the closing, Mercedes and Julia, would you like to add something?
For me, it's very important to participate in these moments, because it's when you can touch the fact that all of us are working on the same direction. So even if there is not a political, let's say, unity, I think it's really important that we, all of us, work together. And so I just want to say thank you for inviting me. So I had the opportunity to explain the opportunity of Green Film Lab and invite all the people who are listening to contact us if they want any kind of information. Thank you, Martina, and thank you, Julia, and thank you, Clara.
Thank you, Mercedes, for joining us. And Julia?
I'd like to thank everybody, and I think events like this are so important because it's going back to what we were saying about communication. So thank you very much for giving both Mercedes and I a platform to tell you more about our courses. And I think that's what's amazing about Creative Europe and the funding is whichever area of sustainability that really talks to you and really moves you is there's training that applies for it. So my advice is to do research and find the training that really talks to you, that you really, you know, what Mercedes delivers is very different to what we deliver. And there's lots of green production courses. So I think the more people we get into it in the different strands of what sustainability is all about will help our groundswell that we were talking about earlier.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Una, Kamen, and
Thank you.
Anna and Clara for joining the Media Desk courses. And dear audience as well, thank you for joining us today. And we definitely stay in touch and trying to be more greener and more sustainable.